is Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are joined today by Coach Carlos Poindexter of Hayfield Secondary School in Alexandria, Virginia, and the defending Class 6 state championship. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for those that don't know, we tried to have Coach on before, but we were having some technical difficulties. So what we were going to do at that point was preview the season. So we decided to wait until after his last regular season game, and then we'll review the season, and then we'll preview the postseason.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so what we're going to talk about tonight is the season that Hayfield has had, what things are looking like going into the playoffs. Hayfield starts the playoffs tomorrow night, familiar team, Justice and district play, and then we'll talk a little bit about last year's state tournament and this year's state tournament. But before we get going, ask everyone, including Coach Poindexter, to please subscribe to our channel. We work hard on it. We realize you don't have to, but if you take a quick minute, subscribe. It really helps us. We're on Twitter at the Kirk and Byrd, and we are on Instagram. So please follow us. We've also finalizing our website. But Coach, we were talking beforehand, and Rusty, you could probably attest to this. This is one of the best times in the year for sports because you've got basketball winding down and the playoffs are starting. College, Coach Poindexter and I were talking about the Miami, North Carolina game. You've got your seedings, your conference championships all shaping up. Super Bowl just happened. And then we've got the NFL draft coming, the Masters coming, and all those things. But Coach, congratulations on a great season so far. Your team is only has one loss, and that's unbelievable considering the schedule that you've played. And we talked about the fact that it was Jackson Reed, a DC team. And for those that are trying to put that together, it's Woodrow Wilson. And you've had some signature wins. Let's talk about that. But you've got unbelievable record. VA Preps with Matt Hatfield has you ranked number 1 in Class 6 for VHSL, but talk to us a little bit about your schedule and how you feel about where your kids are and where you're getting ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we put together as tough of a schedule that we could. I tried to get certain teams, for whatever reason we wasn't able to make that happen. But the teams that we got, I feel like we still put together a good non-conference schedule with Jackson Reed that you said, South County. We had Archbishop Ryan, Elizabeth, out in New Jersey, and then we had Woodside down to 757.
Patriot and Woodside,
that first game of the season. So we put together as good of a schedule that we could, based on who I could get the game scheduled with.
Right, and then. Like Rusty said, you kicked off the season with Patriot. That was a very close game. And then you followed up with Woodside, which was a 5-point victory. Woodside has beaten Gonzaga, and they're playing 2 top 10 teams in their district with Menchville and Kickingham. Menchville's undefeated. And again, South County's got a good record. You've got Edison in your district. Ryan is in the tough Catholic League in Philadelphia, which has got some of the all-time greats. How do you feel about your team being successful? What are the keys to your team, what they do well? And maybe we'll switch a little bit after that to the playoff outlook. But tell us about your team going into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Man, so a lot is predicated on the big three. David King, Greg Jones, and
Coach, you've dominated the teams in your district, and so in basketball we still have districts, regionals, and states. Whereas football, it just kind of the postseason just starts with the big region. In your district tournament, I don't want to say what does it take?
Greg Jones has been. He's been hampered with a back injury pretty much the whole season. We've had to sit him out about 10 days to try to get him as healthy as possible. But he's coming in. He's played versus Edison. That was like the last game he played in. Did a good job. Did a good job of coming back off 10 days and competing and helping us win that game. And then and that's the biggest injury that we have. And we also have a kid named Sean Burton who's a role player for us who has a somewhat of a foot issue of his big toe. He kind of fractured it. But we're trying to get him back so that he can be ready for the playoffs too, because he's a key component to one of our guys off the bench. So for us, it's about trying to get healthy and making sure that we stay healthy with all the players that we have.
Okay.
Coach, had they come out with the all district selections yet? Because they have here. And last year, I just want to point out, you had 5 players on first team, right? So your starters all made first team. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but what happened this year?
Yeah, I heard that was the first time in Northern Virginia history, at least. Yeah. But as far as this year, DJ Holloway was player of the year. David King and Gray Jones was first team. John Awoke, Donovan Bass, and Andy Ramirez were all second team. And Donnie Bass was defensive player of the year. And they gave me coach of the year.
Okay, man. Y'all still rolling with it. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
I got something, Rusty. So with the way the playoffs have been, it's pretty much set that 3 teams are going to come from Northern Virginia, but also with the way the regions are set up, the Class 6 teams in Hampton Roads and Richmond are all in the same region. So if there's 8 teams playing, we're basically the most we'll have is 2 from out of the Northern Virginia. So I wanted to get your take on, I mean, I know you're familiar with Edison. You're familiar with, Alexandria City, the old TC Williams is right down the road from you, but in a different region. But what about the other teams? What about, South Lakes? Great team. You got Marshall. It's a great team. Washington Liberty's playing tonight. They're playing Herndon, I believe. And Madison is going well. So you're going to see a lot of Northern Virginia teams to get to that state final. And most likely, honestly, you could very likely see a Northern Virginia team in the region. So again, we don't want you to say anything, and we'll edit it out, but we know you're not.
I won't get nobody.
I know you're a pro, but every now and then guys say things.
Well, Kirk, first off, they will not see anyone but Northern Virginia teams until states. Remember, A and B are matched up. So the only chance they have to meet anybody not from Fredericksburg up will be in the finals.
Correct.
That's right. Because the other 2, if there's 2 teams from that region, let's just say it's Manchester and Oscar Smith, only one of those can go to the state finals. So, but what's your take on, we know coaches talk. I saw you at the Patriot Battlefield game, but I was way up in the stands. Didn't have a chance to say hello. But what are you hearing? Like, what are some of the up and coming teams that you think are out there and possibly could be, outside of the obvious great records that they have? And we know Patriot Battlefield, but some of those teams that I just mentioned, Alexander.
Yeah, so, I'll first talk about Marshall, man. What a job Jerry Lynn has done over there with them. Second year coach, and he's got those guys playing at a high level and competing for a championship. So we'll see what happens with that on their side. I'm looking forward to see if they can make some noise in the regional tournament. Alexandria City, pretty much same thing with the coach over there, Coach Sully. He's done Tyrone. He's done a great job over there as well. Second year coach for him, and for him to go into the Patriot District, was considered to be the best district in the state for the most part for 6A. He was able to come out and be a 1 seed for them. So they've done a good job of taking those 2 brothers that they have and getting those guys to play off each other and get victories. So I'm looking forward to see what happens in the Patriot District tournament, to see who's going to come out as the 1 seed over there. With the Patriot District last year, the fifth place team won the district tournament in West Potomac. So
Yeah,
that district tournament is a beast over there for the Patriot District. So you never know what's going to happen, what upsets is going to happen within those teams. So, but I'm liking Alexandria City. I've always liked South County because South County has one of the best talents around. And then a dark horse would be Fairfax.
Yep.
And you can never count Woodson out with Doug Craig. Doug Craig always dials it up in the playoffs. So on that's on the Patriot District side.
Coach, we've talked about this in all the sports. Just want to get your viewpoint because of the population growth up here and the biggest schools being up here at Hampton Roads and Richmond. Do you think there maybe should be a reformatting? Because 5 and 4 and 3 are different, but in 6 it's Northern Virginia dominated. Do you think maybe there should be something to where maybe some of the regions go down and join? Maybe some of the regions from say Prince William teams, go down and join the Manchesters, the LC Birds, the Lansdowne, Oscar Smith, because like we said. Because 6 has the biggest schools in Virginia, Northern Virginia is just getting bigger and bigger. What are your thoughts on that? Because there's been a lot of talk. Julian Brown, Nova Legends podcast. He had a great podcast on that. But what are your thoughts?
I honestly think that it should be sports specific. I know for football it'd be a little bit harder, but on the basketball side, you can maneuver it a little bit better to make sure that you get the right amount of teams from each region, and I feel like they can do that. But nobody wants to put in the work to get that done, so they make it all uniform and make it clean. So, but I wish that did happen though.
Yeah,
but they've tried a lot over the last 15.
Have they tried
years.
that before? I didn't know if they tried. I don't know if they tried it before.
Yeah, so they've done some things where first they did it where they had like Prince William down with the Fredericksburg and even the Richmond teams, because I remember when Woodbridge, this was football, but Woodbridge was playing Thomas Dale early in the playoffs. Then they tried about 6 years ago, they put Prince William with the Northern region. I don't know if you remember that. And so especially in football, I know how that impacted things. But again, I think the simplest way to maybe do to make this a little different is go back to just very simply rotating the state semis. Right now they got it locked in where A plays B, but it used to be, and this was logical, A play B this year, A play C next year, and A play D the following year, and it rotated that way.
That's a great call. I feel like that's what should happen.
Yeah, and that's what they used to do. The excuse has been, well, they were trying to reduce the travel, but to be honest, like once you get to the semis anyway, somebody from here, meaning, when A and B play each other, somebody's got to travel. It hurts. So this is what happened. My theory, VHSL, I know you don't like some of these things because you all are clearly listening to our show because we've heard how you've impacted some other things. But the VHSL, when there was a 30-some-year drought of Northern Virginia high schools winning the state championship, that last one being Lee High School, I think in 81 until TC won in 08, I think some people said, what's going on? Like, we cannot win a state championship. And so let's at least give us a chance to put. Now, Coach, I think your team from last year wouldn't have mattered, but it hasn't been. But since that formula was recalculated, Fairfax, because I always say all you gotta do is get to the final game. But what was happening is they didn't always get to the final game.
Yeah, correct.
I think it's a matter of the population up here. I don't know that Fairfax County has. They're almost all six. I know, and then Prince William is all 6. There are areas of Richmond that are growing. Chesapeake is growing. They could build bigger schools. Like Loudon builds schools to be a certain size, and they're not 6. But I think that'll all work out. But if you look at the population, it's heavy. It's very, very heavy up here. But before we go to a couple of topics,
let me just say one other thing, recommendation-wise, what they could do. Excuse me. The other thing they can do is this. Back in the day, there were only 3 state champions: single A, double A, triple A. Maybe for those 5 and 6, because they used to do this. I think football was the last transition. 5 and 6, just play one more game. 5 and 6 champion, play each other, and that's the state champion for the highest level. You know, it wouldn't be fair to keep doing that where, like, man,
I could go
like
with that,
Indiana, you know, because
I'd like to see 5 and 6. I'd love
5 and 6,
I would love
3
it.
and 4, and 1 and 2. Go back to just 3 basketball state champions.
And I would love that, or I would love to play just John Marshall.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is not fair. Now for the
great team.
Class 2.
Dennis Parker. So before let's hit on a couple of points like that, but I just want to ask you one question. If Hayfield is the Class 6 champions in a few weeks, what will Hayfield have done well to earn that championship? What do you all need to do to get there? Don't worry about the other teams. What does your team need to do?
Yeah, for sure. The two things that we need to do. One is we need to stay healthy and stay out of foul trouble.
Number two,
we need to execute in fourth quarters down the stretch of games. I feel like those are the two things that we really need to do in order to continue to get victories and play atmosphere.
Can I ask you something though, Coach? In looking at your record, it doesn't look like you guys have been stressed too much in the fourth quarter. So, what are you going to do?
I know that the playoffs, it brings a different, feel to the game, and you never know how teams are going to play. And I expect for us to be in tough games at one point in time throughout this playoff stretch. So, and we're going to have to be able to execute in the fourth quarter. Yeah, we're going to have to be able to get stopped in the fourth quarter. We're going to have to be able to make our free throws in the fourth quarter. Those are the things that we're going to have to do. And we haven't been put in those type of environments as much. So I don't know what's going to happen with our team, even though I feel like we're going to do fine. But those are the questions that need to be answered in order for us to go out and get this tag.
Yeah, outside of your rival game against, Edison, you beat everybody by double digits. But one game against Edison, you didn't. So, no, I mean those are great keys. Absolutely. I'm just kind of wondering, like, you did get tested in your non-conference schedule. Yeah. So yeah, no doubt. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what has to happen.
All right. So, any food for the competition is depth. Maybe get some people in foul trouble. Those type of things based on what you just told me, but I haven't seen you play. So, we definitely, we wish you the best. And
I saw the Patriot game.
Yeah, I was supposed to go. I wasn't able to, but
if you could get to the Indy game and like say we're going to continue to win, and I feel like Edison's going to continue to win unless they get upset. That game on Friday would be a good game to come to. Hayfield versus Edison, round 3.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, and what I want to talk about next is the private school, public school thing, because they're dealing with it in Richmond, a little bit more in Hampton Roads. And up here, you're right on the border. You go a little bit north from Alexandria County, and you've got a bunch of private schools that have good programs. But having said that, I was going to say that Patriot losing to you, I think is to their advantage. I'd rather go into the playoffs having lost to a team. It ain't a bad problem to have, having already beaten them. But I'm just saying, I think obviously for the fans and the two fan bases, that would be, a great rematch. But, they're going to have to deal with a Battlefield on their side. But so let's transition into that, Coach, because one of the things that Coach Poindexter is known for is getting kids that typically go to private school to go to public school. And that is very tough up here. We got kids 15, 20 miles west of me heading towards Winchester that go to Gonzaga every day. They go to Bishop O'Connell. I mean, that's a short ride, but those things. So for those that aren't in Northern Virginia, folks that are in other parts of the state are just watching, Alexandria, the county part of Alexandria is more to the south. And then you get up into the city of Alexandria, which has Alexandria City Schools. But then that's an area of Northern Virginia where you could probably knock on 2 or 3 doors and the kids are going to private school, as is Great Falls, McLean, Arlington, close to the city. It's a different thing. What's your take on that, and knowing that if there's a great player, he's identified now in the 4th, 5th, 6th grade, he's being recruited by those schools. And by the way, it's all legal. We're not saying that. What is that dynamic like? Because they're dealing with.
So before you answer, Coach, I will say that has played, I think, a big role in those Northern Virginia schools not, having the drought of state basketball, state championships, because Northern Virginia over the last 30, 40 years has been impacted the greatest by the private school recruiting. But go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I agree. So for I know for Hayfield and for how we do things over here, I've been fortunate enough that the kids that come into our program have stayed. So all of our good players have stayed, and I've tried to do my best to do right by them and help them get to school. So, it's a give or take, as anything, it's a give or take thing. I feel like I've done a great job in putting out a great product, helping these players get better and helping them move on to school. So I feel like I've done a great job in that, and parents see the return on them keeping their kids in school. So that's why they continue to bring their son to Hayfield. And I haven't had that issues where players are coming into Hayfield and then transferring out because they quote unquote have made it. So hopefully that continues to happen and continue to put good product and great talent out here.
Yeah. Well, and that's important because with the Catholic League, and St. Stephen's, St. Agnes is not part of the Catholic League, and there's other schools, but in the Catholic League currently right now, 3, I believe, is top 20, Rusty, or top 25. You've got Paul VI, number 2, St. John's St. John's College Catholic High School. I got it right. They're in the top 15. And then you've also got Gonzaga as a very, very good team.
Well, you don't have to say Catholic, just say private school. They don't have to be Catholic.
I'm just saying the Catholic League, though, has 3 of the top. Good point. Anyway, but that's what you're competing with. So you got 2 different things going there. But also, maybe to your advantages, look, there's a tradition here. You're going to get looked out. You're playing teams from Philadelphia, Northern New Jersey, which again is another great private school place. So
big metropolitan area. And again, like those private schools, they get to recruit and do things. But you guys, I think, have done an outstanding job by putting the way you put your schedules together, the way you've coached the athletes you do have. And so, to wrap up what we were saying, like, it's great preparation for what the rest of the state is going to, you're going to go up against.
Yeah. And I always, I talk to most of our coaches. I have a good rapport with all of our coaches, and I try to nudge them, like, get out here and play versus these different teams. That's the only way that our product is going to get better, is if you go out here and play versus teams. So, hopefully, like, as South Lakes has a great player in Jordan Scott. Hopefully they get a game versus someone that's of a higher caliber than them, that they can go and play. Like, that's just only going to help the other guys that's on that team as well. So those are the things that I look at, and hopefully that happens, and hopefully Northern Virginia gets a better name for themselves. Yeah. I'm really big on trying to big up Northern Virginia basketball as much as possible, and I'm a heavy advocate on Northern Virginia basketball because I come from it. I'm a product of it. And and I coach it, and I know that we have good talent in our area. We just gotta be on that. We gotta be out there in order for us to get that notoriety.
Yeah, definitely. Is the Jordan Scott kid? Is that Jerome Scott and Christy Winter Scott's son?
Jerome and Christy
I know it was
Scott,
going to be. Yeah, I thought that was a good guess. But just to reiterate what you're talking about, Rusty, to be number 4 in the DC metropolitan area, for those that are not from Northern Virginia, that is unbelievable. You've got great teams, and that includes private schools from Maryland. And we talked about Wise and some of the programs up there, but you're also talking about DeMatha, some of the other schools. I think
DeMatha, Gonzaga.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Riverdale, you guys are over Riverdale Baptist,
Yep.
McNamara, Sidwell Friends, so I'm glad, because it's not just that you're there, but it's being recognized, because I think for years there have been public schools that deserve to be rated much higher, but they weren't. But when you go out and play the schedule you're playing, you're showing that you deserve to be there. Because I know it was years. It was some TC and Hayfield teams, man, back in the day that you probably played on and against. Man, I was like, no, they are better than a lot of these private schools, But
that's the difference between me and a lot of the live-out coaches. Like, they don't go out and play versus the WCAC teams or like any of the other Catholic schools around. Like, we go and play anybody.
Yeah,
because it gives us good film for us to send off to colleges. That's my main focus of doing it. It's just so that I can help my guys get recruited.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're playing teams from New Jersey and you're playing
Archbishop Ryan, who has a 4-star
from Philadelphia. Yeah,
a 4-star big man.
So before we let, I'm sorry, Rusty. I was just going to say, before we let you go, we just want to get. You have any views on the rest of the state, the different classes? So 5 is a very good class. Menchville's undefeated. You've got Maury's not in play this year, but High Springs, a good team coming back. Kickingham is up there. Woodside is up there. You played Woodside. What have you heard about, going into the playoffs about 5 and also 4? We talked about Verina. The Kings Fork's a great team, boys and girls. But what have you heard about class coach?
So I like for 5, I definitely like Menchville. We've gotten a chance to play them over the past 2 years in like fall leagues. Gotten a chance to play them. Good program. Yep. Got some good kids on that team. And for them to be undefeated, that's. Or I think they are still undefeated. I like that team. I like them versus Woodside. They got to cancel each other out though in order to get to the championship though, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that kind of sucks that they got to cancel each other out. But that whenever they play each other again, that's going to be a great game. So I like both of those teams in the 5. And I don't know who's on our side. Independence. I don't know who's on our side in Loudoun County. That's 5.
Independence. I
don't think they're good enough this year.
Independence, Potomac
Falls.
Yeah, they're good. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's some bull.
I don't think. I mean, I'm not 5A, so it doesn't matter to me. but
Richmond and Hampton Roads are tough to deal with in 5. A lot of teams in 5.
Yeah, right. And then 4, and like you said, Kings Fort. I got a chance to see Kings Fort. We went to the Governor's Challenge in Maryland, and I got a chance to see them play, and they look stifling on defense. They get after it on the defensive side. Those are the type of teams I like because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So I like Kingsport. I like Kingsport.
And Verina's in there. And
Verina, yeah.
Tuscarora is out here. Good football school. They got a really good team. I've seen them play. Loudoun County.
Tuscarora's having a good year this year on the basketball court.
They're all playing tonight, I believe, in that 4 districts and regions. Loudoun County is always in there. They're very, very, very well coached. Riverside is an up-and-coming program. If one of those programs in 4 goes on a run, and 5, Potomac Falls, great coach Jeff Halls. I think he's got 600 wins. I probably gave you an extra 100 there, Coach. But yeah. And Independence always had great talent. Coach Poindexter, last year, Independence, a lot of people said that team can win the whole thing, and they didn't get to the region tournament. So, yeah, those are some good things coming up. So, Rusty, anything before we close out with Coach?
Yeah, just what I close on is we talked about, 6, 5, 4, and we mentioned John Marshall, but I just want to point out they're class 2. But look, they're undefeated this year. They're ranked nationally. At one point, weren't they 1 or 2, depending on the poll, nationally? And this year, they've beaten a lot of private schools. They've beaten DeMatha, and they've beaten some, strong teams all over Richmond, all over Virginia.
The Carlos Boozer twins.
Yep.
They beat that team. Paul VI lost to that team, and then John Marshall goes and beats them.
Yeah, but folks, I want to point out something. Over the last 2 years, our coach Carlos Poindexter beat John Marshall.
That's right, last year.
Y'all beat them. So over these last 2 years, y'all beat them. So again, I'm just letting y'all know how good this team is right here in Hayfield. So and I'm gonna tell you when I knew y'all were legit last year, because right out the bat, y'all smoked Bishop Ireton. Y'all beat John Marshall, later on, but y'all beat some great teams. And then you added to it with another great schedule this year. The other thing I wanted to point out is you're right. If by what you're doing, if you can have that schedule, Lake Braddock won't lose a Jamie Kaiser to Bishop Ireton and then IMG. He'd stay right there if everybody was kind of doing it the way you are. But that's all I have, man. And Coach, any last thoughts, and we'll wrap this up.
I appreciate y'all having me on. I hope that our team continues to have success and that we can do another one of these when we're holding up the trophy.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Coach, big fan. Like I told you, my cousins, Dustin and Megan Barnett, Hayfield Hawks. And then I lived in Kingstown for a number of years. So definitely pulling for you guys, and I can be a little biased until you get to the state final. And hopefully that's Battlefield or Patriot or Potomac or Colgan, my son's school. So, all right, man. Hey, look.
I just want to say again, thank you for having me on.
No, pleasure.
You're the man.
We'll have you on again. Things are getting ready to get very good in Virginia high school basketball. We got some great things going on up here in Northern Virginia. I personally want to see another Patriot Hayfield showdown. That the Patriots are a great team, but by the way, listen up, Battlefield. We're talking about you, South Lakes. We're talking about you, Edison. We're talking all you guys. We all know you're dangerous when it comes to playoff times. Coach is certainly aware of that. But Coach, thanks for having us on. Rusty, why don't you go ahead and take us out?
Yep. So look, again, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. If you get an opportunity, spread the word, hit subscribe, comment. Again, I love the comments, especially when y'all keep it real and tell Kirk he don't know what he's talking about. And Rusty is my favorite guy. All right. So do that. And then comment about how great Coach Carlos Poindexter is and those Hayfield Hawks. All right. We really appreciate that. And then, just we're going to keep this coverage up all the way till we all get to VCU in a couple of weeks. So for Coach Poindexter, my dog, Kirk Hilliard, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.